This is why people believe we have a two-tier justice system. The next few days and weeks will definitively determine whether or not we have a two-tier justice system in the UK. Because after a last-minute attempt at delaying the ban, it is now official Palestine Action has been added to the list of proscribed, banned terrorist organisations in the UK. Which means it would now be an offence of terrorism to be a member of or profess to be a member of Palestine Action as a banned terrorist organisation, which also includes expressing support for the organisation. It includes chanting, wearing clothing, displaying articles, signs, flags, logos, etc., all of which would now be an offence under the Terrorism Act in support of this group. However, the reason I say it will be a defining time in the next few days and weeks is there is already news now that there's going to be events this weekend that Palestine Action vows to make this ban unenforceable as they threaten further civil disobedience. Now, this is a warning to anybody who plans to attend any event this weekend, because if you are seen at or around a demonstration by a Palestine Action group, you may be caught up in this. And there may be terrorism offences and charges levied against you. Because just to be clear, the Met Police has put up a news bulletin here summarising the offences very neatly, so I will borrow this. It is now a criminal offence to belong or profess to belong to a proscribed organisation in the UK or overseas, such as Palestine Action. And this is all irrespective of the underlying reasons and the causes for the event or the group, or your reasons for being at an event or joining a group or whatever. It's irrespective of any of those. Many people criticize me for telling you these things on this channel. The role of me on this channel is primarily to tell you what the law is and how it applies. Whether I agree with laws or not, I will still tell you what they are. Occasionally, I'll give you my opinions. If you want my personal opinions, you can check out my Off the Record channel link below. But as of now, as of today, and unless and until there is any High Court intervention to the contrary to set this aside. But as of now, it is a criminal offence to belong to or to profess to belong to a proscribed organisation such as Palestine Action, or to invite support for Palestine Action, even expressing an opinion or a belief that is in support of a proscribed group such as Palestine Action. It includes arranging or managing or assisting in arranging and managing a meeting in the knowledge that the meeting is to support or further the activities of such a group. Or it is addressed to a person that belongs to or professes to belong to such a group. It includes wearing any clothing or carrying or displaying articles in public in such a way or in such circumstances as to arouse reasonable suspicion that the individual is a member or supporter of a proscribed group. It includes publishing an image of an item of clothing or other article, such as a flag or a logo, in the same circumstances. And this applies to everybody, including members of Parliament. Many of you know where I'm going with this, because regardless of the underlying causes, and whilst I'm not going to talk about international politics a great deal, I am very well aware of what's going on around the world, and much of it is utterly grotesque, and I condemn it entirely. But my role here, aside from that, is to explain what the law is to you, and if there is any reasonable suspicion that you are doing any of these things involved with this group, you may have terrorism charges levied against you. But, as I say, if this all goes ahead as they threaten to do, and there is no further action, then this may well definitively define what is a two-tier justice system in this country, in that we have people in prison right now for a tweet which, albeit like Lucy Connolly, pleaded guilty to the tweet inciting violence, but didn't actually turn up anywhere and didn't actually do anything. The tipping point for this group is that they accepted liability for, and it is alleged that they broke into an RAF base and sabotaged military aircraft to the tune of many tens of millions of pounds worth of damage. And that was the tipping point for proscribing this group. Now, it is, of course, a self-professed action group in everything, including name. So it is not just a protest group. They are an action group who actively go out and do things, such as what they claimed responsibility for, and it is alleged that they broke into the RAF base. And so, speaking very generally, because that is an ongoing case, obviously, speaking very generally, anyone breaking into a military establishment should expect consequences. Now, some people have expressed the view that they would fully expect to be shot if they broke into a military establishment. Now, personally, I've never thought about it, but if I did think about it, I would think it perfectly understandable if I were shot breaking into a military establishment. And if somebody suggested such a thing, I wouldn't do so for fear of being shot. Now, that's not to say that it would be right to be shot, necessarily, but many of you might think that it would be right to be shot breaking into one of our own military bases to damage aircraft, because to protect our nation's sovereignty surely should begin at home with our own military bases. And so I think it's perfectly reasonable for people to expect a harsh, at the very, very least, to be detained immediately and stuck in a prison cell to interrogate as to why you're breaking into a military base. I'm quite amazed, quite frankly, that anyone, let alone more than one person, was able physically to break into a military base and damage aircraft and escape before being detained. That is a testament really to what we need to do to up the security of our own bases. But that was the tipping point, as I say, as to what led to this group being proscribed, which we now have as a proscribed terrorist organization in the UK. So anybody who is a member of, or professing to be a member of, or showing support for this group, such as posting things online to say that they are in support of it, or we are all this group, or things of that nature. And this includes MPs when not in Parliament, because in Parliament, generally, they have full parliamentary absolute privilege in the statements that they make. But even that would probably have limits and exceptions. For example, if it went right up to the point of actually raising funds for terrorist organizations and the like, then I think even those direct threats to national security may give rise to their own consequences, even by an MP in Parliament. But outside of Parliament, an MP, of course, can be held responsible for the same laws. So if an MP were to express support for this group, they should have the same laws levied against them. And therefore, the very same terrorism offences should indeed apply. But as I mentioned earlier, I can understand why people say that we have a two-tier justice system in the UK. And it's because of stories like this, an exclusive by GB News, I'll link below. 6 key members of one of Britain's worst grooming gangs have been released early, some of whom with no licence conditions, when we have people in prison, such as Lucy Connolly, who have simply tweeted something that they regretted, albeit pleaded guilty later on, didn't physically go and do anything, didn't physically hit anybody. We have PDF files, for YouTube's sake, who didn't go to prison. We have MPs who have punched their constituents and didn't go to prison because Mike Amesbury's sentence was suspended on appeal, so did not actually go to prison for that. And yet we have here grooming gang members, some of the most horrific offences we have ever known in this country or worldwide. These men have now been released early. And yet Lucy Connolly's request to be released early was denied. So this is why people believe we have a two-tier justice system. And that is it's not even me voicing an opinion. This is me explaining why it is that people have this understanding that there's a two-tier justice system. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Or if you disagree with that, how you disagree with that. Because this is entirely another level to anything anyone else has done at arm's length. These offences, I cannot even bring myself to read you, even if there were no YouTube algorithm. I could not, in good conscience, read these knowing that so many people would listen to it, because not everybody would have the stomach and because not everybody would have the psychological well-being to listen to it. So at least not without a disclaimer. But if I did read it out, the video would likely get limited by YouTube in any event. What I would urge you is, if you are in any doubt, to go and read it. But I warn you, it's not easy reading. This is why people believe we have a two-tier justice system. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you for watching.